You know what it is? Another reading of How to Lose a Planet, the Afrofuture epic. Still in chapter 2. I doubt he would hate you. He thought she was angry. He couldn't see anger in her face or hear it in her voice, but he couldn't shake the suspicion. Why would you say that? You didn't even know him. She shifted her body weight as if she were going to stand, but remained seated. Tell me about him. This could be a whole other story, which means another payment for you. He glared. My friend was an old white man, and because of what happened with Malo, the inkheads, who wanted to get back at me, decided he was also a nigger lover. Cultural stagnancy. Of course, she said through lips that barely moved. Anything else? Easygoing, except when he was red-eyed. Man could curse you into tears as easily say hello to you. A wise ass, but that's just because he was from Quest City. And always writing a letter, or inside his journal when he wasn't reading. We had that in common, reading. And the letter's always going to one of his kids. Had more kids than God, he would say. And they came in all shades. What was his name? You can't find that out without me giving up the information? I can. She pursed her lips. You do drugs, Kato? He grunted. Ma'am, the guard said. Time's just about up. He's got to get back. She raised a finger. Just one more minute. Mr. Sierra, yes? She smiled. I'll tell the warden you were a gentleman. Sierra grunted. Kato wouldn't look in his direction, but waited for the guard to protest further. After a few quiet seconds, he unclenched his teeth. No, Lacey, I don't do drugs. But when I was soldiering, we do our damage at the Easy Speaks. Drinker, of course, she said. I only ask because so much has changed since you left for the army. Back then, Quest City was still the Four Cities and the bloody bad old days. The red letter days. Your friend, the decent man with more kids than God, he knew about them? He wasn't in here for child support payments. He recalled as a boy seeing two Four City councilmen brawling during a Holloway session. His grandfather was sitting beside him on the couch, laughing. Both politicians survived, but one had taken a pen through the cheek. The city's not what it used to be. Maybe it's not worse, but it's weirder at least, she said. I think it's dried up now, but for a while there was this designer drug. Would get a kid so boosted they could lift the back end of a car. And you put 2 inkheads in the city hospital by yourself. So I thought, of course, he said through clenched teeth. His thoughts lingered on his brother. She cleared her throat. Her gaze passed over his body like a searchlight. That drug, it turned people into gods. Insane gods. Reckless gods. They thought they could get away with anything. I did a series on it. It's been my most read work to date. She pointed at him. But maybe you'll make a better story. Or not, because of the cultural stagnancy. No matter how much a species advances, if it bleeds, it still leads. She rose from her seat, and he noticed that she stood like a person who was ready for a fight. Her left foot rested slightly behind her right foot. You don't plan on bleeding anytime soon, do you? Never met anyone who planned on it. She reminded him of his dead friend, Brian Ironside, and he wondered what Brian would have thought of her. Memories of the man sat on him almost as heavily as brainstorms. While brainstorms snatched him into its embrace as if he were a small child, reminiscence was the small child that he held close. Brainstorms took control, reminiscence surrendered control, and both straddled the thin line between remembering and imagining, leaving him to ponder how accurately his mind framed the past. But it seemed that there was a time when Brian Ironside, with his fist hovering in front of his scowl like a pair of asteroids, had said, strongest gang always beats the other gangs. Not the smartest, not the richest. And our president knows that. When Brian's left jab had raced toward his face, Cotto leaned out the way just in time, wincing at the idea of feeling the old man's knuckles again. After wiping away the stream of blood tickling his cheek, he tried to focus on their sparring session and not on Brian's philosophical ramblings. He had appreciated Brian because he helped him survive prison. And Brian's speeches would sometimes carry an unconventional wisdom, making him something like a sex worker who understood marriage because of time spent with unfaithful husbands. Unethical? Maybe, but not uneducated. Eventually, of Brian's many perspectives, the one that became the pair's unofficial motto was that everybody's got a little ganger in them.